came next? Well, there was rather a large gap, and then the advent of the ad hoc tribunals, which you've heard something about from Stephen. So the ICTY, which was set up by the UN Security Council resolution to try the crimes in the Balkans in the 1990s, and subsequently the ICTR, the twin Rwandan tribunal, to try the crimes arising from the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. Both of those were very distinct. They had distinct jurisdiction. They were aimed at a prosecution of high-level individuals. They were purely international bodies trying international crimes. They left an enormous legacy. I think one in my mind that largely the ICC, which came about subsequently, has not entirely benefited from. Because unfortunately, we all try to reinvent the wheel when we start a new court. And in fact, the jurisprudence and the growth and development of those courts is particularly clear to those of us who have practiced in them, where from the beginning of the days of Tadic, I think Stephen would agree, there was a huge difference in terms of professionalism, jurisprudence, to the end days, which are still going on with the prosecution of Milosevic, Karadzic, Mladic. So although the institution grows, the institution that came next, namely the ICC in 2002, to my mind, has not necessarily benefited from the wealth of jurisprudence and experience that we had housed and been part of in those earlier days. As you've heard from Stephen, the ICC is a very different sort of body. It's a permanent, treaty-based court with the Rome Statute. It has members. It is independent of the UN, and it is funded by the states and also by voluntary contributions. Crucially, it is a court of last resort. So where the state parties are willing or able to prosecute, it will not go there. Although, as we'll see a little bit later, its involvement in the Colombia situation, to my mind, seeks to threaten that peace process, if not dealt with, perhaps delicately. It tries the gravest of crimes. So far there have been 22 cases in 9 situations, many of which are still pending. Several states, as you heard, including Uganda, the DRC, the CAR, the Central African Republic, and Mali have referred themselves. Others have been referred who are not state parties, such as Libya and Sudan, by the UN Security Council. And the prosecution has opened its own investigations in the situation of Kenya, a member state, and also of the Côte d'Ivoire. Current investigations ongoing encompass Colombia, Korea, Nigeria, Afghanistan, and Guinea. So, in a way, the ICC operates in its own vacuum, different and distinct from the ad hocs, and different again from a body of courts that we call the internationalised courts. Some of you have practiced before these courts and have experience of how they operate. Examples are the Special Court for Sierra Leone in Freetown, the extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia in Phnom Penh, and the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, which sits in The Hague. What's distinct about this body is that they operate outside the regular structure of national courts, but they are not fully international, as they require the engagement and involvement of international staff. They apply national as well as international law to define the crimes that are charged or the procedures under which they operate. I'm going to pause there before I deal with anything further, as I think we're nearly at time for coffee. And then I'd like to really move on to giving you some of my thoughts on informal transitional justice mechanisms, and then perhaps taking some questions in relation to Sri Lanka. So I'm sure you have many more ideas than I do in terms of how Shragan should move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we take 15 minutes, please, and then review, so we don't lose too much time? Chili's is cold.
We've got to do something about the